you a quick overview of the New Jersey State Park Service and our lifeguarding program. So we oversee both inland lake areas and Island Beach State Park, which is our only ocean area within the State Park Service as far as our lifeguards go. Because of that, it's a little unique to lakes that we use the United States Lifesaving Association as our accrediting agency for our lifeguards. Most other lakes in New Jersey and pools use American Red Cross. So the United States Lifesaving Association, the reason we utilize them is because they are the accrediting agency for our oceans. And it just made sense to us way back when things started to just use one accrediting agency. There are physical requirements to become a United States Lifesaving Association lifeguard. I'll refer to that as USLA. It's a lot easier to say it that way. But before we would even hire someone to become a lifeguard, they are required to pass a physical test, which consists of a 500-meter swim in 10 minutes or less. And then they get a very short recovery, and then they have to run a quarter mile in 1 minute, 40 seconds or less. So we have to get that physical requirement behind us. Once we have somebody pass that, then we would interview them and hire them. And then we actually train our lifeguards. So lifeguards can come to us with no experience, and we provide all of the training. And as a matter of fact, you get paid to be trained once we hire you. So it's a little different than some of the traditional Red Cross programs where a lot of the lifeguards obtain the certification on their own and pay for that certification. Some agencies may reimburse, but in our case, you're actually being paid to train and then to obtain the certification. Along with the USLA certification, we would also train our lifeguards in all of the required first aid certifications. We use the Health and Safety Institute as our training accreditation, and we would train in things like BLS, basic life saving, which is CPR and things like that, advanced first aid, oxygen, use of oxygen, and AEDs. So again, that is training that we provide and that our lifeguards are paid for their time spent training. And then comes all of the hands-on training that goes along with becoming an accredited USL lifeguard. There's a minimum of 40 hours, and then there is just all of the, our guards start out as rookies, and then it takes some time before we can fully have lifeguards staffing areas on their own. The success of our program really is based on having experienced lifeguards who've been with us for many years, who can then pass their skills on to new lifeguards. So it's always good for us to have a revolving, it's almost a revolving door, but it's a good thing. Younger or newer guards come on board, and experienced guards are there to help train them. And then those experienced guards potentially move on to their careers or other things in life, and we continue that cycle. Of course, COVID was a big hit to many, many areas. I think we were starting to see some challenges prior to COVID with our lifeguard numbers. In a really good year, we would have certified over 200 lifeguards throughout the state. Lately, our numbers have been much lower. Last year, we had 151 lifeguards across the state. So we are always looking to recruit and hire and train lifeguards throughout the state for all of our areas. And it's the same training that goes into our inland lake guards that goes into our ocean guards, just in a little bit of a different setting. One thing we started last year to sort of help us with recruiting was a junior lifeguard program. This is not unique to New Jersey or even to the nation. It's very common with ocean areas. However, many of those areas have a junior lifeguard program that students actually pay to attend. So parents will pay a fee to have their children, be a part of a junior lifeguard program. Some of them start as early as 6 years old, and then go as up to 16 years old. 16 is the age that USLA will accept to certify a lifeguard. For us, we had a bit of a different challenge of not really having the capacity to oversee a camp type situation where we would have people pay to participate. So instead, what we did was we can hire our seasonal employees at 15 years of age within the state of New Jersey. So we started last year hiring junior lifeguards at 15. They are paid employees with us. Our junior lifeguards are paid $16 an hour. And it was an opportunity for us to have the youth start to understand what goes along with the job of a lifeguard, the physical requirements. So physical fitness, running, kayaking, swimming, and then also the skills that will start to come into play to be a lifeguard. We saw not all of our inland lakes participated last year, but there were a few that did. We had a handful, probably 8 or 9 total among our inland lakes of junior lifeguards. But at Island Beach State Park, and Chip will speak more to this, I think we had 12 junior lifeguards last year. And we will start to be able to gauge the success of this year as we see if our guards return and stay with us. And in this case, I think we had 9 come back at Island Beach State Park. And again, Chip can speak more to that. We're still monitoring the return rate at our lake areas. There's more competition within our lake areas because, again, I spoke earlier to the fact that many lakes and pools use American Red Cross as their accrediting lifeguard agency, and American Red Cross does allow 15-year-olds to guard at swimming pools. So we have a little more competition in that sense in our other areas. But at the ocean, you cannot be a lifeguard until you're 16 with USLA. So that's just a bit of an overview of the overall lifeguard program within the New Jersey State Park Service. Some other sort of perks, quote unquote, is that we also we give we give uniforms to our junior lifeguards. They don't have to purchase them; they're issued to them, and also to all of our staff as well. We provide uniforms, so we provide certification training, uniforms, and then paid time working with us up to 40 hours a week during, from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day. And with that, I can pass it over to Chip to speak a little more to the junior lifeguard program at Island Beach State Park. And then any questions you might have.
Okay, good morning. I think Rebecca summed up the overall program fairly well. We are in competition with other beachfront towns for lifeguards, and across the board there was a lot of difficulty attracting and retaining lifeguards. So the implementation of the junior lifeguard program was an excellent way for us to bring in some junior guards, 15-year-olds, train them for the entire summer. And in theory, they'll be our best trained guards because they're training for an entire year before they actually mount the stand and are in an active lifeguarding position. So we think the program's been successful so far. We're in our first year. Some things, we made some adjustments, some tweaks to how we're doing the program and that type of thing. But our retention rate, I think, speaks for itself. The fact that most of the junior guards came back for their first year of actual lifeguarding. So I think it was very successful overall. I think they enjoyed it. We tried to make it fun as we went along. It wasn't just constant, physicality of the training, but it was also some classroom sessions. We talk about the interaction with the environment, weather. So that it was a pretty good program in terms of the breadth of knowledge that we're imparting on the kids. And then they came back this year. Every lifeguard on our beach goes through a retraining phase. So every year they come back, we spend about 3 days going over the lifeguard skills, refreshing them. So the winter may have caused some lapses or things they forget. Just kind of a review, a mini lesson on each area. And then they're ready to go. They mounted the stands and they're actively lifeguarding, starting Memorial Day. So I think the program's been very well received, especially by the public, interestingly enough, because they see the junior guards, running around the beach and training and so on. And they'll ask, like, what are they doing? And we said, well, this is our junior lifeguard program. They're our recruits. We're building our future. So if you think of it kind of like a sports team, the JV moving up to the varsity, and the public seems to receive it well. So I guess I'm open to questions.
Yeah, it looks like Marla has a question.
Yeah, and if I could, I apologize that I did not mention this at the beginning. Just as Marla did, if you would like to ask a question, just so we can keep things orderly, raise your hand and we'll call on you in order as they appear. Thank you. Go ahead, Marla.
Okay, so I guess this is a question for Rebecca. Can you tell us what the current state of the number of lifeguards is? Are you experiencing a shortage? I'm wondering if you can just sum up sort of what the state of lifeguarding is for the state.
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to that. We do track, total number of positions we're looking to fill. Like I said, ideally it's 200. It's been difficult for us to reach that number. So far this year, we received 230 applications. So 230 lifeguard applicants, and that's for positions statewide. We are recruiting for 10 of our inland lakes throughout the state and for Island Beach State Park. But of those 230 that you receive the application, and then there's outreach and we let them know these are the requirements for the job. And then the key is how many of those applicants actually come to one of our tests. So we offer several tests throughout the state, starting in early May, maybe even late April. Some areas actually, some regions start in late April, where oftentimes it's a pool. So we have a pool available to do the physical test. So far, of our 230 applicants, we only have about 50% of those that have come to test. And then of those, about 30% of those who tested pass. So
Gotcha.
A lot of times the challenge is people who are not competitive swimmers don't always realize how difficult it is to swim, to do that distance in that time. And oftentimes we'll have, applicants show up who are athletic, who are involved in other sports, and think, well, it's no big deal. I'll dive in and swim and I'll do this. I swim in pools, I've gone to the ocean, but it's a completely different physical activity. One thing we do is if we have somebody show some, have the ability to, maybe they get a 12 minutes, so complete the distance. So a lot of times we'll say to some of our applicants, don't worry about the time. If this is your first time doing it, complete the distance, complete the 500 meters. Let's see how long it takes you. And then, we do have staff that have the ability to give some pointers. Okay, this is what you can do to improve your stroke. This is what you can do to breathe a little bit. So we have had people who are, who are athletic, are in decent physical condition, but have not really been swimmers. We've been able to work on them to get them to pass and become, to pass that 10-minute time limit. Oftentimes for those students or applicants, the run is easy for them. A lot of times it's track runners or soccer players, and they can do that run no problem. So that's one of the things we do to just continue to work at it. We also have a lifeguard and training program where if they show promise, we will hire them and pay them to do the physical training. to be able to pass the test. We give a short period of time. We say 2 to 3 weeks. We need you to be able to pass. Otherwise, maybe we can find another position for you in the State Park Service. But that's another thing that we do. So, yeah.
Two quick follow-ups. You mentioned the 10 lakes. Is there any lake area where you're really wanting lifeguards? And will you train throughout the summer to bring new people on?
Yes, we will. So some of the areas where we would definitely like to see more lifeguards, Belle Plaine State Forest, in the southern region, we seem to have, we're lacking in applicants at that location. Hopatcong State Park, we just had a test on Saturday and had a few more applicants pass the test, so we've hired more, but Hopatcong is a very busy swimming area, and we're always looking to get as many guards as possible at that area. But really all of the areas, we will never turn a lifeguard away who is able to pass the physical requirements. And we'll work all summer on training. We have our water safety supervisors are responsible to oversee the USLA training. And then we have first aid trainers who oversee the first aid component. They will be the ones to assess, as the season goes on, if they feel that someone has fulfilled all the requirements to be certified as a USLA guard. And sometimes it doesn't happen in the first year. Because maybe there's some additional confidence is needed in their skills, and we'll do everything we can to encourage that lifeguard to return the following year, where we would, reassess and then hopefully pass on that certification. So if age is certainly not a restriction to us at all in hiring our lifeguards. However, we will certainly put in a lot more time if we have a potential candidate who we feel is going to be with us, for several seasons. We will invest that time to be able to have that future of the program and that quote unquote, revolving door where we can keep building the program. As we lose lifeguards, we have new lifeguards taking their position.
Thanks.
Naya, go ahead. And Naya Marshall with NJ.com.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. I wanted to ask a little bit more about the junior program. So what kind of is like the day, and this can go, I guess, for either Rebecca or Chip, what kind of is the day-to-day of the junior program? Are they just in training throughout the day, or do they have like other duties, like mini lifeguard duties? And then the second part to my question is just about, compared to how many applicants you're getting, in general for lifeguards, is it the same number for junior lifeguards? Is it a more popular program this year?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yep, go for it, Chip.
Okay, so their day starts out with all lifeguards at Island Beach. We start out with a morning meeting. We go over information for the day, weather conditions, tides, things like that, any special announcements. We review their assignments, where they're going to be located, and so on. And then the junior guards are part of that. And then once the meeting breaks, all of the guards go up and set up the beach to prepare it for opening. So the junior guards are part of that process, where they help open the beach, set the equipment up and those type of things. Then they'll meet back at headquarters, and typically we start with a run. Obviously we build up to the distance, but I'd say the average is probably a 3-mile run. Once we get going and we've built up to that marker, some distances might be as much as 5 miles. Then they'll come back. We have a review session. We'll go over certain skills, and then we'll go up to the beach and we'll practice those skills, whatever that skill set that we're working on for the day or two. Maybe mock rescues, how to spot a victim, how to access a victim, get them in, those kinds of things. And then throughout that training, we're very Socratic in our method. So after we may do one mock rescue, and we'll bring them in and we'll say, okay, what went right, what went wrong? And we kind of let them dissect the process with the guidance of the older officers overseeing it. But try to let them analyze the different skill sets and how they're applying them. And then throughout the day, once the morning training session is completed, they'll assist with things like lost children, umbrella checks, just general checking on the public. Sometimes someone will come up and say, well, that person's been laying there for quite some time and we haven't seen them, get up and go to the water or whatever. So they'll go through the beach and they'll check on patrons, those kinds of things. Sometimes we assign them to a stand and they'll sit, in that area, not on the stand, but in the area. And the senior guard will mentor them and talk to them about the ocean conditions, how to spot rip currents, all of those factors that go into lifeguarding.
And I can speak to the applicants. It looks like this year we have 9, and Chip, is that correct? You have 9 new junior lifeguards at Island Beach State Park. And then in the northern part of the park, we just have about 4 applicants. Again, I don't think people really understand what that program is yet, throughout our inland lakes, but certainly I think have a better understanding of it in the ocean areas. And I did also just want to add to Marla's question earlier, 2 other areas where we're looking for applicants: Wawayanda State Park in the northern part of the state, and Bass River State Forest. So Bass River has been closed. We do have an ongoing capital project taking place where we have a whole new beach complex there with showers and bathrooms and a snack stand. The work is still taking place, but we are actively recruiting guards for that area so we could at least start training them. It's very difficult for us to reopen an area. We really cannot do it with all new guards. So we would sort of be partnering with some of the closer lakes to potentially see an opening to that area as well this summer.
Thanks, Rebecca. Mike Diamond with the Asbury Park Press.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thanks for your time today. I just had a couple of questions. How are you going about reaching out to candidates? Like, how are you trying to find people?
So social media is a big part of it for us. We posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram when there's opportunities available. We've done some job fairs at schools where we have a presence there. There's some like aquatics. There's been a couple of aquatics or water safety events that have taken place. There was one at Swartzwood State Park. There is a community day at Hopakong State Park. So we have a presence there. We have a table with information. It's usually the parents who are stopping by and seeing and asking questions. And, the challenge is always having the application get filled out and then that, child follow through. And some areas post on like community job boards, of the availability. And then we have a lot of those good old fashioned yard signs right in front of park offices for the positions that we are, looking to hire. So we'll put like lifeguard jobs available signs out in front of, our park offices. We've even used variable message signs like the electronic signs that you put out, with blinking information to get the word out. So we're trying all different ways.
We also reach out to the high schools, the coaches, the high schools, things like that. There's a lot of word of mouth. A lot of the people who work for us, the current lifeguards, will put the word out through their social media and or just in conversation while they're in school. The other thing is that's I guess a byproduct of giving them their uniform is sometimes they're walking around with their sweatshirt on in school and it says lifeguard, and someone will go up to them and say, oh, you're a lifeguard, where? And so we kind of, it's a byproduct recruiting method, I guess you'd say.
That's kind of a perfect lead into like the other question I had is because like as somebody who grew up in like Colorado watching Baywatch, I always thought, hey, that's a pretty, romantic job and heroes are there. Like, why do you think it's been so hard to recruit people?
I think there's a number of factors involved. And I believe that I think there's so much more pressure on younger people today to have these robust resumes and to volunteer and to go to, maybe they're a musician and they want to spend time at, you know, a camp or something to hone their talent, or, you know, a lot of times we are recruiting, you know, students who are athletes and they are in they have practices all summer, or they're coaching, or, you know, so I think that the availability of, you know, of the applicants is one challenge. And then it's a very specific skill set. You know, so many of our other State Park Service seasonal jobs, there, you know, there are skills associated with them, but they're relatively, you know, things that we can teach relatively easy. And with practice, people can do them. Where the swimming is a very specific, especially swimming, you know, 500 meters in 10 minutes or less, that's a very specific skill set. So now our candidate pool has gotten even smaller. And it's a job where young people have people's lives. They are responsible for people's lives. And that can be very scary. And there, I think, you know, are some parents who don't necessarily want their children to be put in that situation. And then there's also the sun exposure. You're out in the elements, you're in the sun, you know, skin cancer and things like that. I think people are much more in tune to today. And just a little side note, we provide sunscreen, we provide shade, we provide hats, we provide sunglasses. But I think that's all of that comes into play with the job. It's a difficult job. But you know, if you're somebody who wants to work hard and likes to work hard, and you get paid, they get paid to run, they get paid to swim, they get paid to kayak, you know, so there is, once I think some people realize, you know, that's, hey, I can get paid to do these things that I enjoy. And on top of it, I'm going to have life-saving skills, and that I can use for the rest of my life. So I think there's a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, and I think just to dovetail on that, we're also timing people out earlier. So for example, years ago, you know, the guard would come in, they maybe do, you know, 1 or 2 years as a high school, and they would complete 4 years of college and still be with us. And then they'd be graduating college, moving on to their careers and so on. Now you also have internships where a lot of the students get to a certain point in their college career and they have to do a research internship or some type of internship related to their potential career. So they time out earlier, which is one of the reasons why we went to the junior lifeguard program, so that we could catch them earlier, train them, and then move them into the ranks. So hopefully, in theory, we'll have them, you know, a little bit longer.
Great, thank you.
Folks, we have about 10 minutes left in our allotted time. Does anybody have any additional questions for Chip or Rebecca?
Yeah, Chip, how long have you been in that position?
I've been a lifeguard for 45 years. I've been at Island Beach for 34 or 35. I've been the captain since 2005.
We don't want Chip to time out.
Yeah.
Anytime soon.
God willing.
I'm wondering if you could just send a message to young folks. You know, you need people. What do you have to say to the audience that, you know, might be considering this?
I would say it's a phenomenal job. Your service to the public. There's no greater reward. You know, some of the younger guards, if they have a rescue, they are elated that they were able to help someone. We've had some of our younger guards involved in CPR where they've been able to, you know, make sure that the person had a significant survival rate and go on to survive. And then they just talk about it for days, that feeling of satisfaction and reward. So it's the best of all worlds. You're outside, you're in a beautiful environment, and you're exercising and you're serving the public. So I think that's the biggest message.
And just a quick question. I know it's been tough, but is there like a ballpark number of juniors, like on a good year, maybe a few years from now, that you guys would hope to have at like each location or in general?
We haven't really thought about it. I think, again, I think similar to our regular lifeguard applicants, we would not turn anyone away who is willing and interested in trying out, to be a junior lifeguard. We have some work to do for sure in some of our, in our inland lakes to have the, to get the word out to make people know that this is an opportunity available to them. And so I think we'll see. Again, this is just year 2, so we'll continue to see, how this plays out for us in the State Park Service.
Marla, did you have another question? You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, are you confident, or I would say more confident than last year? I know last year was really tough because we were just getting out of COVID. Are you more confident that you will get to the numbers that you're seeking?
I think 200 is going to be a lot to ask for, moving forward. So 151 lifeguards, spread out is, so we did, Island Beach State Park is open 7 days a week. Our inland lakes, once they open, so we're doing staggered openings of those areas as right now, because we're still working on training and certifying. We're doing a 5-day-a-week program right now, Wednesday through Sunday. Because of our numbers, and it's just safer that way for us to spread the staff out over 5 days rather than 7 days. So that is something we have had to do to sort of compensate for not getting those target numbers. If we were to be able to get those higher numbers, we could certainly consider and have the ability to spread our staff out over 7 days. I'm looking, as you asked that question, I'm looking at sort of our tracking of who's returning, and new applicants is always really that number to look at. But of those, how many actually come to the test and pass the test? So new hires, I'm seeing very low numbers at our lakes of new hires. So that's concerning, and that's something we certainly would love to get the word out. We love this opportunity to speak to all of you to help us get the word out, to be able to fill some of these positions.
Okay, so when you talk about the staggered, just so I'm clear and I say this correctly, is it all lakes that are Wednesday to Sunday, did you say?
Correct.
All state lakes, okay. But
Yep.
If you have the proper staffing, you could open 7 days a week.
We would certainly like to work towards
Okay.
that. And it's not just, lifeguard staffing is one thing. It's all of the other maintenance comes into play. Everything comes into play when you open a swimming area. But the lifeguards is the safety aspect. So that has to be our primary concern.
Got it. Thank you.
And we'll give Mike the last question as we come up on the end of our scheduled time here.
Oh, just 2 quick ones. Can we still swim if there's an area that's not lifeguarded?
You cannot. So the Public Recreational Bathing Code in the state of New Jersey requires lifeguards to be on duty in order for the public to swim.
Okay. And then, stupid question, but how many laps in a pool is 500 meters?
Depends on the pool size.
Right. It depends on the pool. Some are yards, some of the pools are yards, and some are meters. So in the neighborhood of 21 or 22.
Laps?
Yes.
Okay.
What, you thinking maybe you want to try the test?
I ruled myself out a long time ago, but thanks.
Chip, I'm sorry, I did not get the beginning and your full name.
Chip Bruce, James Bruce. Chip is the nickname.
It's a good lifeguard nickname, don't you think?
Yes.
It is. I love it. And can you spell your last name for me, please?
Yes. B-R-U-C-E.
B-R-U-C. Okay. Thank you so much.
And for Mike and Naya and also Marla, I did put Chip, not the James though, Chip's name and title and Rebecca's name and title in the chat. Just again, Rebecca, R-E-B-E-C-C-A, Fitzgerald, F-I-T-Z-G-E-R-A-L-D, Administrator of the New Jersey State Park Service, and James Chip Bruce, Captain, Island Beach State Park Lifeguards. With that, I would like to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy schedules today to join us. Thank you, Naya, Marla, and Mike. Mike and Naya, in particular, with how long you were waiting to get your interview, and Marla, you came in just at the right time.
Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca and Chip, for making the time to
Thank
speak
you.
with our media partners today and answer questions. Naya, Marla, and Mike, if you have any additional follow-up questions, please email me and I will be happy to facilitate responses for you from Rebecca and Chip. If you do want a copy of today's discussion, which again, I am recording, let me know. It'll probably take an hour or two for everything to process, but I'll be happy to send you the link if you would like it when it's ready.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, everybody. Have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of
Thank
the
you.
day.
Be safe.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.